Yeah. So our position on large carnivores is one that, active management plays a really important role. And we see this in the countries that have had wolf populations and they are being managed. We also see it with brown bear as well and lynx. Conflict is often much lower and people feel that they're managing the wildlife like they manage, other species. The hunters are very passionate about ungulate management, small game management, and this fits in that same category. But the legal protection was really preventing any proper wildlife management, because you could only remove a problem wolf, and this was increasingly interpreted by the court, if you know of the satisfactory solution, etc. And member states had lots of problems because NGOs, often small NGOs, were challenging proposals to manage wolves in the courts, and the courts were interpreting EU law in a very narrow way. And we have so many problems around Europe with the wolf. I mean, Finland, they really want to be able to manage their wolf. This is what the people want, this is what the government wants, but the court system doesn't allow it because of how it's listed. So this was really important to change the status of the wolf. And we fought for it.
Sorry, it's not being done just for the sake of hunting, because the wolf populations have been doing really well in the last 2 decades. I think that's the point. It's not just about downlisting and not just about being able to manage the wolves. It's about the population that is doing really well. It's a success story.
Absolutely. And the time this piece of EU law was being developed, the situation was very different. So you have a massive recovery of the wolf. This is undeniable, even by, very, very strict protection environmental NGOs. The wolf recovery is a fact, and it is a success story. But this piece of legislation has a part of it that says the annexes should change in line with scientific and technical progress. And this is what we argue, this should be implemented. And the wolf was bringing many challenges to, especially for livestock, the sheep and goat sector, combined with very difficult legal frameworks to manage. So this was a big push, but we have this proposal. It's passed, supported by the majority of member states, by the parliament, and now it's up to each European country to adapt their legislation accordingly. And if they have a wolf population that is, especially if it's in favorable status, and many of them are, they can now have a more pragmatic management approach, and they don't have to report all of these derogations that they were doing, even for individual wolves in the past, that were clogging up the court system. It was really heavy, bureaucratically, legally, administratively. It was really, this needed to change.
But there are countries that are pushing back, actually. I think Poland is not going to allow it anytime soon, or what do you hear?
Yeah, Poland is an example of a country that's changed quite a lot. So Poland argued for its wolf to be in Annex 5 so that they could manage it, but the current government of the day keeps the wolf strictly protected in Poland. So this is another, and then you have France. Even with the strict protection, they were actively managing the wolf. Sweden as well. But what we saw was a number of legal systems just kind of breaking with strict protection. Slovakia is another example. The wolf is such a political animal. They were managing the wolf, and the wolf was doing well. They had a change of minister. A Green minister decided to stop the wolf hunt. A huge amount of conflict. Next government in has the wolf management back, and it just tends to, reduce the conflict. And we know, hunting as a management tool has worked very well in a number of countries, like your own in Latvia, and this is important. And we have the same discussion with brown bear now. I mean, we have such high densities of brown bear in certain parts of Europe. How can you not manage them? It's fine, and Sweden has a good management approach for brown bear. So has Croatia. Finland, like the wolf in Annex 4, their legal system has really broke their ability to manage brown bear. It's becoming increasingly more difficult. So the discussion will come as well about brown bear. In one way, that is even a more suitable species for a downlisting. because brown bear populations, okay, we have high densities, they're in certain parts of Europe, many of them are in favorable status. Annex 4 strict protection has been working to an extent, but now we see Annex 4 strict protection not working. I mean, Finland is a good example. Romania is another example where the interpretation of EU law, they stopped the brown bear hunt, and they had so many problems with brown bear management. You know, they have fatalities, they have injuries. The government decided to reopen it. So it's a species that needs to be managed where it's in high densities. And you know, Slovenia is another example. Annex 5 would be helpful, and we see it in Sweden. The hunters are very happy with the brown bear. The brown bear management is very important to them. Conflict is low. They have a lot of brown bears. Croatia as well. Conflict is really low. The hunting community is really, really passionate about their brown bear population. On one hand, it's like a prized game, but yet they solve so many conflicts, the hunting community. And, there's just more local rural acceptance for brown bear when they're part of a good management process. And when they're not, you have really challenging political discussions and things like that. So this, of course, is going to be an increasing topic in the future. We see this around Europe. I think in some parts of Europe, it's like that. I wish people cared more about the European mink, which is one of our most threatened mammals, but the money and the interest is in the more charismatic species. This is well known. And, I think it's nervous for regulators, whether it's in Brussels or whether it's at national level or regional level, because of the, highly emotive and sometimes ideological responses from different sectors of society. And really, it's about, governments really need to take leadership and ownership of these issues. And who are the really key stakeholders? They are the ones that are living with large carnivores in the countryside. But you know how the centers of powers are. Often it's the more urban vote that is often dictating what should happen in the countryside because of, certain political support. And this is a challenge. But policies that are really affecting rural people need to be really taken in line with the needs of rural people. And of course, the EU laws, the Habitats Directive is really about listing, certain species and certain habitat types that need protection because they were rare at a certain point. And now this is why the wolf was downlisted, a huge recovery. And it's come to a point where, okay, strict protection is no longer needed. And I make the point that protection is still there for the wolf. The same legal conservation obligation exists. Member states still have to ensure favorable status of their wolves, So I think it's coming to a point also politically. We see this in the last European elections, and we see this, in many parts of Europe that in some cases you can argue it's a bit more pragmatism, but the wolf was really a political animal. I mean, you had certain groups saying they will solve this very easily politically, and then other groups that said, okay, we have to do this the right way, and the right way is a change in EU law, and then actually a change in wider European law, and now it's just up to member states to change accordingly. So